Finally, Cassie and Ashley's episode. But why does Cassie have to be the stereotypical cleaning lady? Hey everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant. I'm March9234. Today I'll be discussing episode 33 from Power Rangers in Space, titled A Rift in the Rangers. Now this episode is adapted from episode 40 of Mega Rangers, but for the most part it's loosely similar to the Super Sentai episode, but it does have its main differences. Now the episode begins where we see the Rangers at their usual eating table near the jump tubes, and we see that, Cassie is actually cleaning in the background, which is kind of cool. We rarely ever see in usually sci-fi based shows that we see how they take care of the ship. Now I do like that the episode is focusing on the Pink and Yellow Ranger, because a lot of times the girls are not really focused in Power Rangers / Super Sentai. It's just nice to see them being used. But I really don't like it that Cassie had to be the stereotypical woman has to doing the cleaning job. I particularly had wished if Cassie was doing, either repair work on the ship or something else. So since Cassie's been cleaning the floor probably for a fair amount of time while the other guys have been eating, although it's kind of odd that she would be cleaning the floor while the guys are eating, Cassie gets annoyed at Ashley because she sees that the entire table has been messed up. Ashley gets confused, like, we eat on the table, it's dirty, we clean it up, it gets dirty. But of course, I see it from Cassie's point of view is that, well, she did all that hard work. You shouldn't mess up the table this badly. I mean, you should keep it relatively neat. Oh, okay, since she's complaining about the table, I'll just brush off all the crumbs onto the floor, which is even more stupid because Cassie has been cleaning the floor the entire time. And this starts off the huge argument between the two girls. We head toward Astronema, and we find out that, Dark Spectre is still wondering where the power drain of his body is coming from. He's still clueless on what's going on, and of course, Astronema is trying to keep up her ruse that, she doesn't know where it's coming from, but she's trying to get as close as possible in order to figure it out, and just, delaying Dark Spectre from ever thinking that, Astronema is behind all of this. The Psycho Rangers are getting more and more annoyed as the days progress because, again, since Astronema doesn't want the Psycho Rangers to kill the Power Rangers off relatively fast and want to train the Dark Spectre as much as possible, they're confused on why Astronema is not letting them go down and fight the Rangers. I do have to complain about one thing though. Every time I see Dark Spectre, he obviously is a reuse of the Malagor suit in the Turbo Rangers movie. Now the reason why this happened was because the people who ran in space loved that suit. It was very expensive and it was beautifully detailed for the Malagor suit. So they obviously used the suit over again for Dark Spectre. But I wish in the show they had explained why they look the same. The majority of the fans pretty much explain it away as that, they're just the same exact species, and it's just a coincidence that they just look similar. I just wish they would have made at least some adjustments to the suit so he looks a little bit differently, because when I originally saw it in space, I was actually thinking that was Malagor from the movie and in space, and I'm like, how did he come back to life until I finally heard his name as Dark Spectre. Eventually, Psycho Yellow decides, well, screw Astronema, I'll just simply devise a plan behind her back, and actually heads to Psycho Pink's location in order to capture the Yellow Ranger. I was kind of surprised that they actually used this footage from the Super Sentai episode. Psycho Pink in the Mega Ranger series is the actual more deadly of all the five Psycho Rangers, and will do anything to kill them. So if you look closely while she's doing her target practicing, all the target areas are actually in front of the Ranger's heart. So she just blatantly just wants to show that she wants to kill them directly. So I'm surprised they actually used this footage. So while Psycho Yellow is trying to convince Psycho Pink of her plan, Psycho Pink is saying that if Astronema finds out, she's going to kill us. Now, I always found this kind of confusing because if you look at it from the show's point of view, the Psycho Rangers are extremely powerful compared to the Space Rangers. But if the Psycho Rangers are so scared of Astronema, if she's stronger than the Psycho Rangers, that means she's like, what, 2-3 times stronger than the Space Rangers? Why doesn't she just do it herself? It always kind of annoys me when they set up the main villains as the strongest people, and then the Psycho Rangers are also set up as the strongest people. Why do we need these two different people? Just do it yourself. Now, another thing I have to complain about in this scene is that the Psycho Girls' voices are nearly identical. You can almost never tell them apart. So if they're talking off screen, you can get them easily confused that if Psycho Pink is talking, you may think it's Psycho Yellow talking. I wish they had cast someone who sounds a little bit more different from either one. Now, for the most part, Psycho Yellow's plan is very similar in the original Mega Ranger episode. She does want to try to get Psycho Yellow, and of course is using Psycho Pink in order to help her out. Eventually, we finally head back to the Megaship, and of course, Cassie is still fed up with Ashley and her being a slob, which I do want to complain about because in Turbo and in the earlier episodes of In Space, I really didn't think Ashley was going to be like kind of a slob in a way. And Andros all of a sudden out of nowhere just says, Cassie, can you do this? Why is Andros even asking Cassie to do something? She's obviously busy cleaning the entire command area and the other parts of the ship. It was even more stupid is that when Cassie finally, gets fed up with everyone telling her to do this and do that while Cassie is trying to clean the ship, no one gets why she's upset, it's kind of obvious that why she's upset. She's doing all this work, she's not being appreciated, and Ashley, of course, is ignoring what she's really supposed to be doing, her other parts of the job. So eventually TJ gets fed up with the whole bickering between Cassie and Ashley and forcibly tells Ashley to sit down and with Cassie in order to talk this out. When they eventually get interrupted that the Psycho Rangers are on Earth and they head down. Eventually when the Rangers finally get on Earth, they find out that Psycho Pink is basically alone and no other Psycho Rangers. So of course everyone is kind of confused like what's going on. Now the thing that kind of confused me is that since Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink are trying to hide this from Astronema, why are they directly attacking the Rangers out in the open? This is actually basically a ruse in order to capture Yellow. So they're basically creating a divergence so the other Rangers are being distracted. Now while all the Rangers are split up and fighting all the minions, while Psycho Pink is fighting the Yellow Ranger and the Pink Ranger. So eventually Ashley tries to defend Cassie, and even TJ tries to defend Cassie when both of them are knocked down and badly injured. Cassie feels even worse that now TJ's been injured and Ashley's still trying to cover her even though they had this huge argument on the Megaship. Now I actually want to commend Psycho Yellow and Pink. This plan is actually a really good plan. Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink are trying to split the Rangers up, weaken their numbers, take the Yellow Ranger, treat her as a prisoner, and use her as a bargaining chip. If this plan succeeds, they can simply tell the Rangers to surrender their morphers, make them land the Megaship to take it over, anything. Eventually, we see that this old lady comes into the fight, which is very rare in Power Rangers games because a lot of times when a fight happens, usually no one's around, which is always a convenience. That wouldn't really be the case. A lot of times we would see a whole bunch of people running around this area trying to get away from them. So it's actually interesting to see the civilians being involved in the fight. Ashley falls for the ruse, and we basically find out that the Psycho Rangers can actually transform into human shape as well. The thing though that I have to complain about is Ashley was kind of acting stupid in this moment. If you listen to her line, she's basically trying to say, what are you doing? I'm trying to help you. No ordinary human on Earth has the ability to form handcuffs on you. You should immediately have thought that was another Psycho Ranger. Since Psycho Yellow's primary goal was to actually always capture the Yellow Ranger and she disappeared, Psycho Pink got pissed off and simply teleported away in order to find where Psycho Yellow went. Andros and everyone else returned to the Megaship in order to try to locate where she is. Eventually we head to Psycho Yellow's location. We basically see that they're in some really high cave with an opening and we really don't know where they are. Psycho Pink comes in and basically, you just used me and you didn't help me in any way in order to capture the Pink Ranger. Now, of course, the whole bickering between Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink is supposed to be a reflection of the bickering between Cassie and Ashley. Now, while Psycho Yellow and Pink are arguing and eventually are fighting, and we actually see Psycho Yellow actually damages Psycho Pink's helmet, Ashley takes the advantage of the situation and actually jumps out of the cave. If Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink didn't bicker and waste this opportunity, Psycho Yellow would have successfully sucked up all her memories, her powers from the Astromorpher, and they would have easily gotten rid of the Space Ranger. They would have killed Ashley off. After Ashley finally escapes the cave, we see that she finally reached the city. I assume her handcuffs prohibit her in order to do certain things like calling the Galaxy Gliders or calling a Megazord or so forth. Since she's handcuffed, she can't actually call her Astromorpher. So how would she get back to the Megaship? Since she can't call a Galaxy Glider, she can't fly back up. So what was she planning to do? Back in the Megaship, we basically see that Alpha 6, Andros, Carlos, TJ, Cassie are all trying to locate Ashley's location. But the thing that I have to complain about is that why did anyone attempt to call her on her Astromorpher? Granted, the Psycho Rangers would have been smart enough to, block the astromorpher from, communicating, and of course Ashley can't actually press the astromorpher herself to signal to the megaship. If you remember in past episodes, once another ranger signals your morpher while you're in the suit, all you have to do is voice respond, so she would have been easily able to contact them. Unfortunately, the Psycho Rangers eventually find her location because, again, I assume they're tracking her location through the handcuffs because they have this glowing light. Now, Ashley thinks of a very desperate plan. There's fuel and other high explosives inside that building, and actually eggs on Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink to actually attack her, and this causes a huge, massive explosion of all the material in the building. Ashley was taking a really big risk because, remember, she's been in the suit for a very long time. She's been in a previous fight with the Psycho Rangers, and the suit could have easily had failed when this huge explosion had gone off. Now, with every villain in every TV show, Psycho Yellow assumes there's no way she could survive that explosion. I really hate this when villains do this. I'm like, there's no logical reason why you would think that. If I was her, I would have went in the building and checked for a body. Luckily enough, the ruse worked, and Ashley was able to finally get away from the Psycho Rangers long enough where the other Rangers finally found her location. Now, eventually when Ashley finally meets up with the other Rangers, for some reason, Psycho Yellow disappears from the remainder of the story. There's no explanation of why this happened. Now, again, thanks to the previous episode, we found out that the one Psycho Ranger is actually more than enough to easily fight off all 5 Rangers at one time. Fortunately enough, Ashley remembered that Psycho Yellow had damaged Psycho Pink's helmet and basically told Cassie to use her satellite stunner on that weakened area of her face to damage it even further. And Ashley, combining with the satellite stunner and her arm blade finisher, finally able to defeat Psycho Pink. Now, unfortunately, Psycho Pink wasn't actually killed, and we finally get our first introduction to the monster forms of the Psycho Rangers. Psycho Pink's monster form is basically a plant-like monster. We really don't get an official name for the monster form, but in Mega Rangers, each of the Psycho Rangers monster forms do get full names. So the Rangers eventually call the Mega Voyager into the scene, but then all of a sudden, Zane comes in with the Mega Winger out of nowhere. I really hate that this episode had no explanation of why Zane was missing. He wasn't in the episode where Psycho Pink and Yellow tried to do their ruse in the beginning, and he was totally missing from the previous episode. I had really wished they had simply wrote in a simple explanation of why he was in the episode. His morpher wasn't destroyed, it wasn't damaged, nothing. There was just no reason why he wasn't there. Now again, in Mega Ranger, he still had the same time limit problem at this point. Now their only hope is to use the V3 missile. Psycho Pink is moving around, there's no way to actually fire that on her. Zane basically devises a plan in order to hold her into position. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the Mega Voyager loses power. There's no explanation of why this happened. Was it sabotage? Was it something? There was nothing. There was no reason why this happened. But fortunately enough, just at the last minute, they were able to divert enough power to the Mega V3 missile, finally launching it and finally defeating Psycho Pink once and for all. I always found this kind of funny because Psycho Pink was the very first Psycho Ranger to be defeated. But later on in Lost Galaxy, Psycho Pink was the last Ranger to be defeated in the team-up special. Because if you think about it, Psycho Pink was easily defeated by one Mega Voyager with the V3 finisher, but in the Lost Galaxy team-up, she survived not only 11 Rangers, she also survived 2 Megazords, so her power level was kind of inconsistent between the two series. Of course, Astronema is using this to her advantage because now since one of them has finally failed, she can now say, now, look at your actions. If you go behind my back again, this will just end up getting yourself killed because you're not following my directions. Why doesn't Astronema just simply tell the Psycho Rangers her plan? I mean, I don't think the Psycho Rangers would simply go to Dark Spectre and rat her out. Wouldn't it be more beneficial to Astronema? Because, I mean, if Astronema simply told the Psycho Rangers of her plan that I'm using your bodies to drain Dark Spectre, and just simply cut a deal with them or simply, let them on, it would be more beneficial between the two. Because one, because it would help Astronema in order to complete her goal by killing Dark Spectre off, and two, it would make it easier on the Psycho Rangers finally understanding why she's not letting them kill the Space Rangers, and they could devise plans together in order to kill Dark Spectre and the Space Rangers at the same time, completing both their goals, and then they can simply go their separate ways. So overall, I have to give this episode a 4 out of 5. It was a good episode. It was far better than what happened in the previous episode. Carl is babysitting that girl and really not having anything to do with the Psycho Ranger story arc. This episode featured Cassie and Ashley, who are mostly neglected in the show, especially Cassie. It also featured Psycho Yellow and Psycho Pink. While they did bicker and screwed up their plan was pretty much flawless. They did capture a Ranger, they could have killed her off, and if they did, they would have easily succeeded because the Space Rangers had lost all communication with Ashley. But the episode did have its fair faults. One, Ashley becoming a slob out of nowhere. I mean, in previous space episodes and even in Turbo, I didn't really see her as a slob or not caring about people's, what their jobs are doing. Two, Carlos and Andros felt like airheads because, why would you ask Cassie to go and do this work while she's trying to clean the bridge? Now, the only other thing I have to pretty much complain about the episode is that, unfortunately, it had a focus on Ashley and Cassie at the same time. I personally had wished all the Psycho Ranger episode had focused on one Ranger at a time so that Cassie and Ashley wouldn't have had a fight on screen time. Because if you look at the episode, it was a Cassie mainly focused episode and Ashley got shafted, so we rarely got to see her in action. What do you guys personally think? Do you guys agree with me that, the episode was really good? It was a good Cassie and Ashley episode and it showed off the Psycho Rangers, what they truly can do and how evil they are. Or do you agree with me that some things were kind of stupid, like the Cassie and Ashley argument came out of nowhere? It could have been explained a little bit better or done in a little bit more tasteful way and not making it stereotypical women cleaning. I really hate when Power Rangers really don't know what to do with the girls and they just end up making them either the same old ditzy bimbo, wanting to shop for clothes, and like in Samurai's case, Pink and Samurai, it has this stupid ongoing thing where she can't cook properly. Of course, leave your comments below on what you think on this episode. Of course, leave your comments below on what future episodes you would like me to review. For next week's rant, I'll be continuing the Psycho Ranger arc with the next episode, 5 of a Kind. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys right back here next week. Hey everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant. I'm Archer9234. Hey everyone, and welcome to another Ranger Rant. I'm Archer9234. Today I'll be discussing episode 34 from Power Rangers in Space, titled A Rift in the Ranger. For next week's rant, I'll be continuing the Psycho Ranger arc with the next episode. Starting next season, I'm going to start including your personal review comments in the episodes themselves. If you would like your review to be featured in next week's rant, leave your review comment below. Or if you would like, you can also leave a review comment in my Twitter. If you don't know my Twitter, it's in the description of this video. Again, if you would like your personal review featured in the Season 4 premiere and future episodes, leave them below or in my Twitter, and I'll pick the 5 best ones to be featured.